Entry interface coming up in about 7 minutes at 10:25 a.m. Central Time. That is when Dragon will begin to heat up as it encounters Earth's atmosphere for the first time since it launched back on May 22nd. They expect a communications blackout between 10:27 and 10:33. This is typical for a spacecraft coming back in. So once again, a 6-minute blackout from 10:27 to 10:33. Landing still scheduled for 10:44 a.m. Central Time. And we still expect the drogue chutes to deploy at 10:35 and the main chutes at 10:36. Here's a look at what's ahead for us. Later on today, we just ran through the times in terms of splashdown. We also have the mission status briefing coming up at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be our final one for this Dragon mission. Of course, we'll have an update from SpaceX headquarters there in Hawthorne with Elon Musk, and he'll be joined by Alan Lindemoyer, the head of NASA's Commercial Crew and Cargo Program, who has been there since just a couple days after launch. This is Mission Control Houston. According to the clocks in the timeline, Dragon should be feeling the first effects of Earth's atmosphere now. Entry interface is beginning with Dragon 377 miles out in front of the International Space Station. Crew is no doubt turning their eyes toward the horizon to see if they can see some of this. This is when the plasma trail would begin to be formed around Dragon. Again, we're expecting a communications blackout coming up in just a couple of minutes at 10:27. It'll last till 10:33. The SpaceX team confirming that Dragon now is in communications blackout. This was expected. It will last until 10:33 a.m. Central Time. Shortly after that, the drogue chutes will be deployed at 10:35, the main chutes at 10:36, and then landing at 10:44. This is Mission Control Houston. Dragon continues its reentry into the Earth's atmosphere. We're now 13 minutes and 23 seconds away from splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. The NASA aircraft that is flying in a racetrack pattern around the splashdown site is reporting that they are beginning to pick up the first traces of Dragon on their infrared sensors. We do not have live imagery from that plane just yet, but of course anything that we get from it we will provide for you here on NASA television. But the team is reporting that everything on board Dragon looks good. The flight is true, and Dragon continuing to head on in. As we mentioned before, Dragon is actually bringing home more cargo than it took up to the station. This is an important capability for the spacecraft to actually bring items home. That is what sets it apart from the other cargo vehicles that visit the station. It took up 1,014 pounds of cargo. It is now bringing back 1,367 pounds of return items. Some of that will be turned over to NASA in a quick return fashion within the next 48 hours. This is also an important capability because Dragon will be able to bring home science experiments as well as other items that need to be returned fairly quickly. So those items will be removed once Dragon gets to port there in Los Angeles, specifically in Long Beach. The rest of the cargo inside will actually come home with the spacecraft as it gets moved across the country to McGregor, Texas. That is where SpaceX has one of its rocket test facilities. That is where the Dragon will actually be decommissioned, and all the different fuel and hypergolic liquids that are still on board will be removed as well. And here is our first image of Dragon as it's coming back in. This is infrared imagery from the NASA plane that is flying high above the Pacific Ocean. That white dot there you see in the middle that is sort of jumping around a bit, that is Dragon coming back in through the atmosphere. It is still in communications blackout for the next few seconds. That should be ending here shortly. And then Dragon's drogue chutes should be deployed coming up at 10:35 a.m. Central Time, about 2 minutes from now. Main chutes will deploy at 10:36 with a landing in the Pacific Ocean at 10:44.
Go ahead, Don, on 2.
Yes, I was wondering whether you have any word on Dragon, whether the bird went okay, and I'm thinking it should just about be splashed down by now.
Yeah, Don, we're 10 minutes out from splashdown. We had a good deorbit burn and a good trunk separation, and P3 aircraft has an infrared lock on the target, so we'll update you as we go along.
Any shoots yet, or is it too early for shoots?
And it's too early, Don, so we'll let you know when that happens.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Dragon's drogue chutes should be deployed at an altitude of 45,000 feet. There's 2 of them. That will come out and slow down the spacecraft a bit and stabilize it to get it set up for the main chutes to be deployed. Main chutes are deployed about a minute later at 10:36 a.m. Central Time. Each one of those is 116 feet in diameter. They are very large. Again, the NASA plane that is providing these images is reporting that there's some clouds in the area that they are flying above. The recovery boat, as well as the airplane that is flying for us, is reporting that the drogue chutes have been deployed.
And Don, on Space Ground 2, we're reporting a drogue chutes out. We expect the mains in about a minute.
Shoots are good. Thanks for keeping us informed.
As you can hear, Don Pettit, a member of Expedition 31 on board the International Space Station, is keeping his ears tuned to the reentry of the spacecraft that he and the rest of the crew bid farewell to earlier this morning. The team here in Houston continuing to update the crew with the information that we have. But again, the drogue chutes have been deployed. 10:35 a.m. Central Time was the official time for that. We're coming up here shortly. The mains should be deployed very soon. As you can see, the main parachutes are being deployed from the video here. Again, Dragon has 3 main parachutes. They're 116 feet in diameter.
Don, on Space to Ground 2, we're seeing 3 main chutes on infrared imagery.
Thanks for the heads up. That's good news.
So the team is reporting from the video that they're seeing, just like we are, that the 3 chutes are in good shape. Dragon is slowing its descent down toward the Pacific Ocean, again landing, and splashdown there set for 10:44 a.m. Central Time, 8:44 a.m. Pacific. This is Mission Control, Houston. We are now 5 minutes away from the targeted splashdown time of Dragon. The spacecraft is in good shape. The parachutes are fully inflated, slowing Dragon down during these final last couple of minutes of flight. The recovery vessels are on station, awaiting Dragon to arrive in their vicinity. The NASA plane, the P3 plane that is circling overhead, continues to track Dragon and monitor its performance, but everything looks good. The SpaceX team continuing to monitor Dragon during these last couple of minutes of flight. You see the CEO of SpaceX there, Elon Musk, sitting there on the front row. Two and a half minutes left until splashdown. Dragon continuing to fly as expected. Everything looking good, everything green. The splashdown area still targeted for about 560 miles off the coast of Baja, California. Again, the recovery vessels are in the area. They've been on station for the last several hours. They're ready to support the landing of Dragon. There is a very large barge, a big ship out there that SpaceX uses to pluck Dragon out of the ocean. And the SpaceX team is confirming that Dragon has successfully splashed down at 10:42 a.m. Central Time. Once again, 10:42 a.m. Central Time, Dragon is in the water. What the team is now doing is confirming the location so they can relay that to the recovery vessels. This is Mission Control Houston once again. The SpaceX team confirming that Dragon is in the water. Splashdown occurred at 10:42 a.m. Central Time, 11:42 a.m. Eastern. Once we hear the exact location of the vehicle, we will pass that on to you. They have to use the locator devices on Dragon to figure out the exact latitude and longitude so they can relay that to the recovery vessels. This is Mission Control Houston again. Splashdown confirmed at 10:42 a.m. Central Time, 11:42 a.m. Eastern. That is 8:42 a.m. Pacific Time there at the Splashdown site. We are standing by to hear word from SpaceX on the exact location of Dragon, so we can pass that on to you. The SpaceX team is talking about the clouds in the area right now that we had mentioned before during our broadcast. What happens is once the Dragon gets down into the water, those planes that NASA had flying overhead to track Dragon sort of help keep eyes on the spacecraft and direct the boats to them. But the clouds are sort of giving a bit of a challenge to the team to accomplish that. But once we figure out exactly where Dragon is, we will pass that on to you. John Cloris, who is SpaceX's mission director, is continuing to work with his team there in Hawthorne, California through the remainder of their procedures, make sure that everything is configured correctly for Dragon. The recovery forces continue to head toward the splashdown target of Dragon. Our preliminary report, and we want to stress that it is preliminary,
Space Ground 2 for
is that Dragon splashed down fairly on target. It was due to splash down 563 miles to the west of Baja, California.
And the recovery ship saw some chutes, and they're heading that general direction. So as I get more report as they get closer, I'll let you know.
Thanks, Al. We greatly appreciate it. It's great news.
And just a question for you guys. NASA's going to carry a press conference here in the near future, and wondered if you guys want that, we could beam it up to you.
That'd be great.
Which SSC would you like?
Can you set to SSC4, please?
Okay, we'll get that set up and dial up to SSC4.
Thank you very much.
This is Mission Control Houston. The crew of Expedition 31 getting an update on the Dragon recovery efforts. We have reports from our team out there that the NASA plane does spot Dragon's parachutes in the water. They have reduced their altitude to go down below the clouds. There's some pretty thick clouds in the area above the recovery zone, so they were having some trouble spotting Dragon from their current flight path. So they went down below the deck a bit to take a look at it. They did spot the chutes in the water. And SpaceX also confirming that Dragon did land at 27 degrees latitude, 120 degrees longitude, which puts it pretty much right on target. So again, 27 degrees latitude, 120 degrees longitude. The recovery boats report contact with Dragon, so they have spotted it in the water. They will head over there and begin the process of releasing the main chutes and then getting it out of the water. So again, coordinates 27 degrees latitude north, 120 degrees west longitude, which puts it on target. This is Mission Control Houston. Again, to summarize, splashdown was confirmed at 10:42 a.m. Central Time. The reentry of Dragon went according to the timeline, with the exception that splashdown happened a couple minutes early. But that is in line with what happens during water landings. The spacecraft splashed down at 27 degrees north latitude and 120 degrees west longitude. The recovery boats have made contact with Dragon. They are heading out there to begin the process of recovery. The NASA P-3 plane that is flying overhead has gone down to a lower altitude to get down below the clouds to see if we can get some visual of it. They did spot the parachutes in the water, which helped the boats confirm. And they are attempting to send us video of Dragon there in the water. While we hang on for a bit here on NASA television to get a report from SpaceX on the condition of the spacecraft, we want to remind you that coming up at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have our final mission status briefing from here at the Johnson Space Center, as well as there in Hawthorne, California. Mike Sefferdini, the head of NASA's space station program, will be here in Houston to offer his reflections on the mission so far and today's successful reentry of Dragon. And of course, we'll be joined by Elon Musk, the founder and chief designer for SpaceX there in Hawthorne, and he'll be joined by Alan Lindemore, NASA's head of the Commercial Crew and Cargo Program. The Dragon there still sitting in the water, the Pacific Ocean. You can make it out if you look there in the center of the screen. The SpaceX team is attempting to send commands to Dragon to separate the parachutes. They're doing this as a manual command. They are notifying the plane that's flying overhead so they can keep an eye out and to make sure that that gets accomplished. Much like a Soyuz landing, they try to detach these parachutes as quickly as possible because obviously wind could still interact with it and move the spacecraft around. And the teams have confirmed that the parachutes have been detached. The SpaceX team continuing to power down certain systems on board Dragon. Again, the chutes have been detached from Dragon. They are reporting that Dragon is at the stable 1 position. Everything looking good. The overhead planes continuing to circle and a racetrack and showing what imagery they can of Dragon. As we mentioned, it's a fairly cloudy day there over the Pacific Ocean. But the recovery boats are on site. They are in the process of getting ready to get up close to Dragon and begin the recovery activities.
Station Houston, Space Ground 2 with an update on Dragon.
Houston, go ahead on 2.
Yeah, Joe, just to bring you up to date, Dragon's in the water, the aircraft's overhead, and they're moving in to pick it up. SpaceX has released the chutes, and we've got some very poor quality video of the capsule in the water. That press conference will occur at 1800. Looking at KU coverage, we wouldn't pick up till about 1818, but we'd be willing to send what's left of that conference up at 1818.
That would be great. We appreciate it.
Okay, we'll rig that up, and also if you wanted, we could show you what's on NASA TV right now if you brought Net Meeting up on SSC4.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Thanks, Al.
Okay, we'll give you a minute or so, and then we'll try dialing.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, the SpaceX team working through a set of procedures to power down part of Dragon, get it stabilized and ready for the recovery operations. The boats are heading toward the spacecraft now that it was located several minutes ago. We continue to get intermittent video from the NASA plane that's flying overhead and tracking Dragon. As we reported a few minutes ago, the chutes have been detached from Dragon. The team here in Houston has been reporting up to the Expedition 31 crew. The status of things this morning, of course, they bid farewell to the Dragon spacecraft earlier today. Joe Acaba, Don Pettit, and Andre Kuipers were working together to detach Dragon from the International Space Station. Everything went without a hitch. Dragon was released over the Southern Ocean at 4:49 a.m. Central Time, 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time. After that, it conducted a series of quick burns to back it away from the station. And then it got set up for the deorbit burn, which was conducted at 9:51 a.m. Central Time, right on time. The burn lasted 9 minutes 50 seconds. It slowed Dragon down by 100 meters per second. That was enough to begin the process of bringing it back into the Earth's atmosphere. It went into entry interface right at 10:25 a.m. Central Time. The drogue chutes were deployed at 10:35. Shortly after that, at 10:36, that's when the main parachutes were deployed, and then splashdown occurred at 10:42. So again, 10:42 a.m. Central Time, 11:42 a.m. Eastern Time. That is our official splashdown time for the Dragon spacecraft at 27 degrees north latitude, 120 degrees west longitude. They're almost right on the dot. They're about 560 miles to the west of Baja, California. As you heard the team here in Houston telling the crew just a few minutes ago, we will have a news conference coming up at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on NASA television. The crew is going to be without communications during the first part of that news conference, but they will be watching as they're very interested on the comments from SpaceX and also the space station program that we will have during that mission status briefing. For those of you in the media, we want to remind you that if you would like to participate in that briefing, we ask that you call the Johnson Space Center newsroom no later than 12:45 p.m. Central Time, 15 minutes before the beginning of that briefing. So once again, if you're a member of the media and would like to participate in that briefing, just contact the JSC newsroom by 12:45 p.m. Central Time and we'll patch you in.
Station, Houston, Space Ground 2, no response required. We're a minute and 20 seconds out from a 31-minute LOS.
Operations here inside the space station flight control room are returning back to normal. We're continuing to take a look at the Dragon as it floats there in the Pacific Ocean. This video is a little bit choppy, a little bit hard to see, but it is there. This team here in Houston going to take a quick break as the space station passes out of communications range. They've got about a 30-minute loss of signal here, which is a good chance for people to step off and take a quick break. This is Mission Control Houston. As you can see from our video, Dragon continuing to bob there in the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, recovery teams are still heading toward the spacecraft to continue the operations there and to get it out of the water, get it on board the ship that SpaceX has contracted with to go out there and do these operations. this mission so far, which has been remarkable in how smoothly it went, ended just like it began, which is fairly easily. This is Mission Control Houston. As we keep on looking at the Dragon spacecraft there in the Pacific Ocean, we have the official mission elapsed time for you. Total mission duration was 9 days, 7 hours, and 58 minutes. Once again, total Dragon mission elapsed time, 9 days, 7 hours, and 58 minutes. The SpaceX team, they're continuing to watch the video that we're seeing as the crews get ready to recover Dragon. But a highly successful mission comes to a highly successful end for this SpaceX team.